up? How are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Good. It's crazy time in the world of sport and life in general.
Yeah, yeah. That's what life is in the 2020s these days.
So crazy. I mean, yesterday a soccer player got here, not sure if you heard of him. He basically played on March 29th, and yesterday he died from cancer at the age of 31.
Wow.
So March 29th, played soccer, and yesterday he died from cancer. I'm presuming, and I don't know, they didn't release it, but I'm guessing it's pancreatitis because
Yeah.
basically he'd experienced severe stomach pain and all of
Hmm.
that. Oh, feel free to share the stream, please, with everyone because you are the popular host
Yeah.
for
Right.
the call. So feel free, please share it with everyone so they will tune in if you don't mind.
Just did it.
Thank you, appreciate. So he
Okay, man.
passed away, and Jim Olsey tweeted 7 hours ago. 7 hours ago he tweeted, and now he's dead.
Yep.
Six
Crazy.
from the perspective, don't take anything from granted. Appreciate, love, tell your loved ones that you love them,
Hmm.
and don't take nothing for granted
Sure.
because it could literally. Jim Olsey, as far as all we know, he was a multimillionaire, multi
Mm.
probably billion,
Billionaire. Yeah. Yeah.
and now even his money could not save his life, unfortunately. So that
Yeah.
is shocking. But anyway, NFL, even though it's we're on the off season, it's kind of a busy time right now, relatively. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Voluntary
basically
OTAs, and you have uh yeah. Then you had rookie camp. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on. And there's still free agency happening. People aren't talking about that. People really aren't talking about that, and they should be because Dan already said that he was going to be aggressive about getting some of these secondary guys. So I think we should expect to sign one of them. I just think that they're trying to skip out on having to do mandatory mini or voluntary mini camp.
so you think that is what? So it's not
Yeah,
money.
no, numbers too. Yeah, yeah, numbers too. But there's too many guys out on the market, and we're too weak at the secondary positions. And Dan Morgan literally told us that he's going to be aggressive with that. So I would say that we're looking at we're gonna
So
sign. I think we're gonna sign at least two people. I don't think it's gonna be Jalen Ramsey, but I think we're gonna see um, maybe somebody like Roswell Douglas and Blackman.
Ramsey, unless I'm mistaken, is not available free agency unless they release him.
Yeah,
So
they
is
won't
it
release
in
him. They'll trade him. I mean, he's great cap situation for a team that trades for him. But Miami's taking a big hit because he has void years and he has uh, uh, salary cap issues. A team that can trade for him can get rid of him after 1 year, and they don't have to really take a hit.
what about Jair Alexander as well? We have guest everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shaked Bar-Tal is Alex Bryant, NFL Insider. Make sure to check out his work, alexbryant.com. 25 years of experience. So now, and smash the like button, guys. This is right. So what about Jair Alexander? I mean, am I
Uh,
mistaken that
he's too old.
is he not like 28?
Yeah, I think he's too old. He's too injury prone. I think that this look at all the guys that they signed in free agency. The only one that's even pushing 30 is Renfro at 29. Most of them are you're looking at mid 20s for almost all of these guys. Like Wharton's like mid 20s. Bobby Brown's I think 24. Morig's like 26. Like that's the timeline that this group is on. I don't see us signing any older players. I think that you're looking at like a Blackman and then I don't know what they're thinking about cornerback.
Because Rasul Douglas is also approaching up there in age.
Yeah, but he'll be cheap. Alexander's gonna be too expensive. He's gonna go to
So you,
a contender.
so you think it will be too expensive, like because he's from the Charlotte area.
Yeah,
So
even Clowney. I mean, Clowney was past his prime, and he was still too expensive for what he was. Just the name value on some of these guys are just gonna be too expensive because of their upside. And I don't think that we're interested in getting a guy that what did he play 7 games last year. I just don't think they're interested in that. But a team that's like trying to contend is they'll spend that money for it.
right, and problem with Clowney, he just wasn't good enough. I mean,
Yeah,
even when he played, I felt like he took some plays off.
yeah.
That
I
is,
mean, they're too old. Like that's what I like. Adam Thielen's too old. That's why he had a 70% snap share this year, and that's what he's going to be. He's going to be situational. Clowney was going to be situational, and Clowney's just making way too much money to be situational. So I think they were like, let's save some money and get our guys, our young guys in because if Clowney's only going to play 50% of the snaps, he's making too much money for it and not, and like you said, not productive enough. Whereas Thielen is going to play 70% of 65, 70% of the snaps and be very productive. So I think that's the difference between the two. And Thielen's still making less money than Clowney.
yeah. Question with Clowney, and I don't, I mean, he had a good career, but in my opinion, is overrated in general. Because if I remember correctly, he was picked first overall
Yep.
by the Texans,
Yep.
and someone who's being picked first overall, defensive end, pass rusher, had a great career in college. You expect him to dominate and put up tremendous numbers, eventually go to the Hall of Fame. That is the anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
Anticipation. But realistically, his numbers overall in this year were good, but not great.
Yeah,
Not
I mean, he was in a crap situation. He was getting double teamed every play, so he had no one else. And he had to play 90 to 100% of the snaps. And he's 31, 32. Like, it was kind of just unfair of us to ask that for him. If you look at his numbers when Wadham came back, I think he had 4 sacks in his last like 6 games or something like that. Much more productive when he had somebody else on the other side. It just, it was a money grab for him. I mean, we paid him more money than anybody else would, and he came and got it, and now he's gone, and he's going to go to a contender, probably the Ravens.
right. No, I'm saying in general, throughout his career, he, one could say, kind of overrated. I mean, his
Yeah,
NFL
yeah.
career,
For a
NFL
number one
career,
pick, yeah.
yeah.
For number one pick, you're absolutely right. He's definitely yeah.
So he's the,
He hasn't lived up to that status, but he's a good player. I think he's like a 2 3 time Pro Bowler. I mean, he's not great, but
yeah.
he's pretty good.
No, I know in football we judge defense and by the tackles, and I only believe 1 year can 1 year he had like 15 sacks plus.
Mm,
The rest of his career, rest of his years wasn't good enough. But Uno,
mm.
you're right about that. So why do you think they haven't signed Blackburn? And are you afraid that he might go somewhere else?
No, I just. I mean, he's not on any kind of timeline. There's no reason for him to sign with anybody. If you have multiple suitors, right? And you say you have
Yeah,
the Panthers. I don't remember who he has. Just from what I've heard, he has 3, right? And they're all giving him
yeah,
similar numbers, right? So say that one team gets impatient now the next 2 teams are scrambling, and that's when he gets paid. You're not even in mandatory minicamp yet. It's you got so much time. I'm sure his agent is just telling him to hold tight. I bet because um, Tepper said this that they're going to be aggressive about signing him, and I think that we're the only ones that are going to be overly aggressive for us safety. Whereas other teams, I think, are pretty. They're like, it's not really that big of a deal. Where we're like, we don't have anybody at free safety, so
I would keep an eye and forgot but I believe they lost their starting safety or
So,
one of the rookies, Don
yeah,
Achille.
you talking about ransom? You said ransom?
No, Ravens, Baltimore Ravens. They
Oh, they
lost the
just
safety.
yeah, they have Hamilton, and they just signed. They just drafted somebody in the first round. They drafted who was it? Johnny Barron? Is that who they drafted? Yeah, they
Uh,
drafted a safety in the first round or early, and they have Kyle Hamilton.
American Stock.
They're fine.
American Stock. That is who
Starks. Oh
they
yeah.
drafted.
Starks. That's right.
Sure. So yeah, so you think it's basically the Panthers competing against the Panthers in essence?
No, I mean they got plans on plans on plans. I mean, there's so many, and that's the thing. It's a saturated market, and that's why Dan came out and said we're going to be aggressive but patient because you got Blackman, Justin Simmons, Marcus Williams at cornerback. You got every team's trying to get rid of a cornerback. James Bradbury's on the market. Roswell Douglas. I mean, there's so many different guys that are on the market, like they are every year, and that's why I kept on telling people during the draft we're not going to draft secondary because there's an abundance of them on the market, and they're trying to nickel and dime everything they can possibly get. Whereas Blackman knows that he is the golden ticket because of his age, and he's because Justin Simmons is a little older, so I think that if we can't sign Blackman on a 2-year deal, then we'll get Justin Simmons on a 1-year deal, or we'll get Marcus Williams on a 1-year deal. We're going to sign somebody because I don't think they're comfortable just having Damani Richardson and Nick Scott being like the free safeties in this offense.
Right. You definitely don't want Nick Scott. I mean, we saw he wasn't good enough last year, which I'm shocked they
Yeah,
brought him back. To be honest with you, I
yeah,
really am.
he's a special teams ace, um, and then he's a depth piece. It's he's the 53rd, and then they know if they say, "Hey, you're not going to dress this week," then nobody else is going to pick him up. Like, kind of like that.
Which you know, we talk about free agency in general. It's kind of shocking that there are so many good safeties and so many good cornerbacks still available. I mean, you mentioned Rasul Douglas. I believe he was a former Pro Bowler, if I remember correctly, or
Yeah. After
James.
after he played for the Panthers, he went to Green Bay. It was Pro Bowler. Always happens with Panthers. We have guys and they go somewhere else. They're Pro Bowlers.
And James Bradbury, which I didn't like him when he played with the Panthers because at time I felt like he didn't play tough. That is my opinion, and I
Uh,
stick with it.
yeah, we
So,
had a bad
but
culture. It's and nobody played as good as they should have.
so he is available in Ramsey in a trade, and Jay Alexander in a trade, in safety. I mean, Justin Simmons a couple of years ago was one of the best safety in the NFL. I mean, I remember when the Falcons signed him, everyone said they hit a home run. Apparently not. Probably because of the schemes that they're in.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, they had Jesse Bates, so like he took all the like glory, like the interceptions and stuff. But Simmons being on the free safety side allowed Bates to jump routes, I guess. So Bates got all the glory parts as far as interceptions. But with the teams that we're going against and the speed that we're going against, I don't think Justin Simmons is the guy. We got to have some speed. I mean, Blackman is the obvious answer, um, and I think that's why they're going to be aggressive about it. I would say Blackman. I'm I'm more. I would say we're like 51% going to sign Blackman because he just makes too much sense.
But the thing is, I know he's not our favorite coach. Still the coach. Evera.
Um,
Simmons used to coach him.
Simmons is going to go for a vet minimum. So if we wanted Simmons, we would have already signed Simmons. Like he's not going to be expensive. He's a guy now. He's like in the Shaq Thompson category.
Which which I know age-wise NFL is old, but here's my concern. I mean, on offense we have Adam Sandler, he's old. NFL standard, of course. But
Mm.
on the defense, we don't have a dent. We don't. I mean, JC is is a leader. Derrick Brown is a leader. But I still feel like in general, especially young NFL teams, you need someone. You need a veteran, even if he's not going to play a lot. You need a veteran under the teams that can basically motivate the players and tell you this is how we're going to play and not
Mm.
how to play, and basically give them the talk.
Yeah, but
And
that hasn't worked. We tried to do that, right? We got in Woods, Bell. We brought in Shy Tuttle. We brought in Davion Clowney. We brought in Justin Houston. We had Shaq Thompson. That doesn't work. Your best players have to be the captains of your team, and I think that's what they realize. So you're saying that, hey, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, you are the leaders of this team, and we're gonna, no matter what, we're gonna build around you. You guys got to be the vocal guys. Same with Bryce. Bryce was couldn't say what he wanted to say because he was always surrounded by other older players. So now that like Miles Sanders is gone, Ian Thomas is gone, um, guys that kind of have been there in the system, and then all you got left is basically like Moten, and then Adam Thielen is just like he's pretty. He has pretty good strong relationship um, Bryce. But then like, it's all young guys on that side of the ball too. Then you got Excel, you have T Mac, you have Horn, you have Coker. They're all younger than Bryce. So Bryce is freed up to be the vocal leader, and I think that's where their point of view is that we're going to depend on these guys who've been in the league for 3, 4, 5 years instead of depending on the guys that are 9, 10 years because it ain't worked. Like they ain't interested. They're money grabbing. They ain't interested. They ain't interested in being leaders or vets.
right, which I mean, but here's the deal. To play devil advocate, you mentioned Sanders, you mentioned Shy Tuttle, you mentioned Ian Thomas. Let's be honest. I mean, Sanders, yeah, he had a good year in Philadelphia, 1 year, but we are talking about unproven older players. So when you have unproven older players, the message might not convey as much. And with Justin Houston, I think honestly, what was the problem with Justin Houston was the coaching staff. I mean, we basically had all-star coaching staff. That was the problem with someone like Justin Houston.
But the problem is that they still have that same coaching staff. So if you're saying that that's a problem, you don't want to make that mistake again. Just that's just like it's just like simple like math. It's if I have one guy's a problem, if I know the vet like a older vet is gonna be a problem with this coaching staff, and I have the same coaching staff, then I'm not gonna get this older vet. You know what I'm saying? Um, and they showed us over and over and over again. I mean, they cut Troy Hill, they got rid of Deontay Johnson, they got rid of Bell, they got rid of now they got rid of Xavier Woods, um, got rid of Morgan Fox, got rid of Hayden Hurst. Like they're telling us something. They're telling us that hey, we want to get younger, and we have basically one player, which is Adam Thielen, that is totally bought in, and even
And
Moten, they're like, like we're not going to extend you, like so they're basically telling us that that's how they feel. We're going to build around Bryce. We're going to build around Horn and Derek Brown, and they're going to be the leaders of our team.
right, and I know you didn't mention it because he's a backup, but I truly feel Andy Dalton is a big leader in the locker room. I could be mistaken completely, but I have the feeling he's a leader in the locker room because I believe when Bryce struggled, instead of Andy Dalton wanted to play and all of that, which is totally understandable, but he basically literally took Bryce under his shoulder.
Yeah, I think that he's respected in the locker room. I don't think that he's a leader in the locker room. I think that he's respected in the locker room and that he has a good relationship with Bryce. And Dan Morgan told us that. Dan Morgan was like, "Yo, like they have a great relationship. I'd be stupid not to re-sign Andy Dalton." And Andy Dalton is showing you that he feels the same way because he's got a shot to start somewhere. You don't think that he could have gone to the Browns with their quarterback situation right now? or the Steelers with their quarterback situation right now and compete, he said, "Yo, I like where I'm at. I enjoy being respected in the locker room and being Bryce's right hand man." And Dallas came out and said it. Dallas said, "Let's be clear. This is Bryce's team, and Andy's the backup." And he made it very clear, which is the first time he did it because he didn't do it at all last year. And he made it very clear to the media. He made it very clear to Andy. So I think that Andy is respected, but everyone's well aware that it's Bryce's team. Trying some like balls to juggle while we wait.
Sorry about that. Just
Sorry.
to go to other remote to save my battery. No, but so continue your point, please.
Oh yeah, I just said that that Canales made it a very big point that, and he didn't do it at all last year, but this year he said, let's be very clear, it's Bryce's team. We go as Bryce goes, and Andy knew that, and Andy knew that he could go to another situation where he could compete. But Andy is bought in on Bryce and bought in on being the respected vet on the team. But I don't think that he's a what you would call a leader or a voice in the locker room. But I think that he's respected and sets an example of um, how to hold yourself in front of other players or young players. And I think that's important. Like the next guys down that accept their role. And I truly believe that's what happened with Jadavion. I think they came to him. They said, "Hey, if you don't like this situation that you're going to be in because you aren't going to be our starter, we're going to use you situationally. We need you to be a professional in the locker room and show like how you are." And he didn't like that, and he thought that he could go be a more impactful player somewhere else. And they gave him that option, and I think that's what happened. Is that they gave him the option, and he bounced. And I think
With
Thielen was like, "I'm willing to do that," and he was like, "I'm willing to do that," and other older guys are like, "I'm willing to do that."
yeah, yes, you're right, Sam. I mean, remember who was very high on Jimmy on Jr.? Me. Me?
Yeah, and Musa Muhammad out of that
Right.
turnout.
So that's the second. That's the
No, yeah,
second.
yeah, no,
Andrew,
you're right, man. He looks in he looks incredible. But you can go ahead because I'm just like gonna give you your flowers. He looks incredible. In the tape that I've seen.
right. Which Muslim Muhammad Jr., I believe they call him Muslim Muhammad Jr. or
Yeah,
Muslim
or
Muhammad
the
the
third, I
third.
think. Yeah, I think he's the
Yeah,
third.
the fourth or the second. Whatever. Muslim Muhammad Jr., I will call it. He basically, they released him on an injury settlement and he cleared waiver, and I believe he's brought back to the roster.
Let's. I think that's a good point that you just made. Let's talk about how fantastic this front office is at understanding the value of their players on the market. They did the same thing with Coker last year, and they
Exactly.
said they cut. Coker was cut. Coker was not a player on the Panthers roster for a week, and he went through waivers and nobody picked him up because the Panthers understood the market and they took a calculated risk. And they've done it the same way in the draft, and they just did it with Musa Muhammad, and they were like, yeah, we'll be able to get him back because he's going to pass through waivers. I don't know that they've done it and it hasn't worked out. They're fantastic about understanding their players' value on the market and getting like I'm sure they didn't want to get rid of Mingo. I mean, it's kind of silly to get rid of a guy that like, he's only been in the league for a month and a half, a year and a half. But they understood that the max value that they could ever get for this dude was a fourth round pick, and they jumped on it. Same with Deontay Johnson. They were like, "Yo, this guy's insane, and we can get value for him." And then after the Ravens took him, and they couldn't get anything for him, they had to release him. They are fantastic about getting the maximum. They were able to trade their seventh round pick last year for a player. It was going to be
Michael
Michael Jackson. Yeah,
the
it's
single.
fantastic maneuvering that front office has done, and I don't think they get enough credit. And I think it was a good point that you made.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate. So, I mean, Cocker, we got lucky. I mean, we talk about it's a maneuver move, but it was also a risky move. Can you
Uh,
imagine for a second our receiver, and it's tough to believe that a rookie wideout at the time, basically, we can say he was our best wide receiver last year. So just imagine for a second what would have happened if Jalen Coker was claimed by another team. We would have basically been screwed last
oh
year
yeah,
and also this year.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. What's the quote? Where save money don't win money. You got to take these calculated risks if you're going to be a good organization. Like good organizations do this all the time. This the Chiefs let Miko Hardman go, and they took a calculated risk. They're like, you're worth this to us. You're worth. They understood the market, and they said you're worth this. And Miko Hardman got cut by the Jets, and they came right back to
yes.
the Chiefs for nothing. You know, it's these kind of like brilliant moves that like Derrick Henry. Like everybody like kind of like left Derrick Henry for dead, and the Ravens said, "Yo, we'll give you a ton of money, even though you're 30." They took a calculated risk because if you're a 30-year-old running back, you should not make that much money, and that's what good organizations do. And they are so. I'm so proud of like of this front office and what they've been able to accomplish.
But I am curious. I mean, we're all proud of it and it's fantastic. I mean, I thought basically teams, I don't want to say spy because I'm sure there is no like gate or anything like that. Hopefully, there's. Are teams aware of basically talent level the same players? So basically, each team evaluate player differently. So you can release a player knowing that team B might not evaluate the player as good as you are.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the timing because like when they cut Coker, I think like two or three other receivers got cut at the same time, and the need in the right wide receiver room wasn't big for. They understood that other teams were cutting wide receivers. They weren't the demand wasn't for wide receivers, so they were like, we could probably get away with cutting this guy and getting him back on the roster, and they do it. It's mathematics. It's the power of Tillis. It's the power of Tepper being willing to listen to probabilities, which he probably got from Brandon Bean over in Buffalo. It's not all about like evaluating the player. It's understanding the value of the player, understanding the value of the player in the team, understanding all this different stuff. And Tillis has played this like a beautiful chess game, and it's wonderful. And that's not taken away from Tepper because Tepper's identifying these players, and they're so amazing at adding value to these players and understanding the market and how the market values these players.
yeah, so all good point. And we spoke earlier about Clowney, which I could be mistaken, but I don't believe he's been signed by anyone. Not
No, there's no
saying
re- yeah, they're gonna wait till somebody gets hurt. There's no reason to. He's got his signing bonus. Like we've already paid him his signing
and
bonus.
what about so I am curious. I know, coach, you get fired as a coach. Technically, I believe you're supposed to look for a job. Otherwise, they're not going to pay you. I could be mistaken on that part, but I believe basically a coach, when they get fired, I'm presuming they cannot go ahead and decide, listen, I'm going to leave, not do anything NFL wise for the next couple of years. So, with regarding to players, when a team cut a player, are are the players basically required to look for another job in order to get paid or not really?
No, they go on waivers and then they can be picked up by any of the other 31 teams. But the 31 teams have to pay out that contract. And what's happening is they don't want to pay that contract because they eat that cap. They'd rather create a new contract so they don't have to pay that much cap in that specific year instead of saying we're going to pick you up off of waivers and then renegotiate your contract because that doesn't ever work out really well. And they'd also rather have him come to a team that he wants to go to versus claiming him off waivers and then him being a problem in the locker room. So
And
no, you don't have to look for a job, but you have to. If you're claiming off waivers, you have to go to that team.
right, and you can, I mean, you can retire if you don't want to, which I I know it's not Panthers related, but a couple of days ago there was a story about Caleb Williams. I don't know if you saw it. How
Yeah,
basically,
that's just that's clickbait
yeah,
news. Nobody, yeah, of
yeah,
course, nobody wants to go to Chicago. It's cold. It's cold outdoors, and they suck with quarterbacks. Of course, but like we really think that he was going to go to the UFL. Like, let's get real. Like if you don't hear this news in real time, it ain't news. Like for we knew with Elway, like you better send him where he wants to go because he has leverage. Herschel Walker, same thing. Eli Manning, the same thing. Kyler Murray, if he wanted to, could have been the same thing because he could have been a baseball player. Caleb had no leverage. You ain't gonna go to the UFL, dude. Like, it ain't gonna happen. You got to go where you got to go. Like whatever. I'm sure he was disappointed at his landing spot, but I'm sure he would have been disappointed in the Patriots too, with where they were and their growth.
but actually, sorry to cut you. Actually, I saw he was supposedly interested in the Vikings, and the Vikings. It's even colder in Minnesota.
So I'd be
So that
interested in going to the Ravens. I'd be interested in going to the Eagles. But like those are good organizations. They don't pick number one. If you want to go, if you're the first overall pick, sorry about it, bro. You got to go to these trash organizations.
right. So I mean, I agree with Caleb Williams, and only time will tell. But I would venture to say he was the most overripe player coming to the draft. I mean,
That's too early.
everyone basically declared him like the next Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Young together, and literally like once in a generation, once
We
in a
do it.
decade type of a quarterback.
We
And
do
I'm
it every
sure,
year. We did the same
but
thing
they
with
didn't.
Lawrence. We did the same thing with Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence won what 2 games, 3 games. Like we didn't do it with Bryce because people were like basically prejudiced of his height. But Eli Manning, I mean, Peyton Manning won what 2, 3 games his first season. We do it all the time. We hype with these people just because we want the we want to have these takes on these stupid national media shows of like biggest bust ever, and the biggest bust ever because that same media hyped them up so much instead of looking at the data and like, yo, the data says that rookies usually struggle their first year. And if they're good their first year, their second year, they're probably gonna like come back down to earth, which would happen with Stroud, which is probably gonna happen with Daniels. It's like it's tale as old as time, and we just are willfully ignorant of that.
The reason why the media, national media, sport media does it, all about the rating. All about the rating.
Sure,
That is the only reason why they do it.
yeah,
And someone mentioned in the chat, week one is going to be interesting. Panthers walking to the Jags. I mean, regardless, Sam, if the Panthers win, we are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, we mentioned it last week.
yeah,
When we play the Jacksonville Jaguars, when the Carolina Panthers play the Jacksonville Jaguars, week one, we always go to the Super Bowl. If we play them later on in the season, no. David Tepper is going to go crazy, and we have a terrible season. So we are playing the Jags week one. We play the Jags week one in 2013. We played the Jags
15,
week one in
2003,
2015. Yeah,
2015,
2000.
yeah, and 2003.
Right. In both years, we made it to the Super Bowl. So So I said on Twitter, X, to Mike K, when the schedule was going to release, get ready to book your hotel to the Super Bowl. So everyone should start saving for New Orleans. If you're a Panthers fan, I don't know who we are playing. Maybe the Chiefs, maybe the Pats, maybe the Bengals. I don't know who we are playing, but we are going to the Super Bowl. So
Also,
who knows? I mean,
how the hell did New Orleans get a Super Bowl? I don't know if you ever been to the Superdome. That thing is a
no,
rinky dink and about to fall apart. Like it's like a they definitely need to do a makeover to that stadium. Um,
no. I think why they're getting Super Bowl because New Orleans is a
oh
very famous,
sure, yeah.
very.
Charlotte's nobody wants to come to. New Orleans, everybody wants to go to.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Charlotte, Charlotte is now officially the 14th largest city in America. Before it was like the 17th. So we've moved up.
Yeah, yeah. The
But
largest, like largest doesn't mean like a tourist location. Largest is just like it's the largest. So we don't
right.
have any draw. What is it? Charlotte has a like an amusement park.
No, I mean we have the White Water, we have Carowinds, we have Valentine's,
Carowinds, yeah, that's what it is. No, I'm just saying
the
like
White.
we've never hosted and
You know why? Because we have an outdoor stadium. I truly believe that is the only
so
reason.
does San Francisco and they hosted one.
But San Francisco tourists, there's much more to
That's what I'm
see.
saying. Like, yeah, you make my point for me. A tourist, yeah. Where you want to go? But like, they play in Santa Clara. I went to the Super Bowl in 2015, and I had to sit on a train for an hour and 15 minutes from downtown San Francisco, where we stayed, to get to Santa Clara to go to the game.
Wow.
It ain't close. It's like going from like it's like going from like Greensboro and uh, to Charlotte. Like it's doesn't matter. We don't need to go into that. That's annoying. But anyway, I will say this. I know it's like funny that says like saying like we'll go to the Super Bowl, right? Like
Yeah.
because it's silly. Uh, but it kind of ain't. Like year three quarterbacks, one, make this jump. Two, we're a lot better than people think we are. Three, we were the 31st most injured team 2 years ago, the 30th most injured team last year. If we get healthy, man, I, I I wouldn't put a ceiling on this team, but that doesn't mean that I'm saying that we're going to the Super Bowl. But I think that this team's going to be fun, and I think we're gonna have like a few blowouts that people aren't going to see coming. Like I think that
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like that first blowout is going to be in Jacksonville week one. I think they win by at least 14 points. I know
I think,
that's an aggressive take, but I think we win by at least 14 points.
yeah, I'm going to say what's up, FX and everyone else. Smash the like button, subscribe, help the channel monetize. So you think we beat the Jacks by 14? That
I think we
the,
destroyed the Jags.
I think that can be a trap game. It really can be. But
Good, yeah.
the question is that we have to wonder until we see it. Training camp and especially uh, preseason, what difference are we going to see? Because in our mind, we still, I mean, I know they made free agency and so on, but we still stuck with the nightmare of the horrendous defense of last year. And you know what's scary? What's so scary? I went last year to FanFest. What's up, San Diego? Everyone smash the like button, please. And subscribe if you haven't done so. So I went to FanFest in Clemson last year. They all did. Guess who looked great in FanFest?
The defense.
Yeah, the defense looked very strong.
Well,
Very, very
let's play this
strong.
game. Let's play this game. So we play a 3-4, right?
Yeah.
The three down players that we think are going to play like immediate snaps, the starting guys. Who are they, in your opinion? In my opinion, they be Bobby Brown, Derek Brown, and Wharton. Would you change any of those guys?
Uh, Walton, yeah.
You
Wait,
you would
DJ
change
Walton?
you would
DJ
change
Walton?
Wharton? No, yeah, Wharton, the guy that we just gave $15 million a year to, Bobby Brown and Derek Brown would be my three down guys in a 3-4 defense.
Right. The thing is, honestly,
It,
I'm not.
go,
Honestly, yeah.
I'm just trying to make a point real fast. Those guys did not play for the Panthers last year, except for Derek Brown for one game. So those guys are all new. So let's go to the next four guys. DJ Wonnum missed over half the year, and he's going to start. Patrick Jones is going to start, and he played well for the Vikings. I mean, that's just to start the season, unless it's scored. But whatever, no matter what, the two outside edges or outside linebackers are new, basically, right? The
Right.
inside linebackers are going to be two of Jewel, Wallace, and Roseboom. None of them played even a full half a season for the Panthers this past year. Then we
Jolson
have
Wallace,
go
just
ahead.
a sec. Watson actually played nearly close to full season.
Who?
Wallace missed the Trevor Wallace missed the last 3 games,
He
last
didn't
four
start,
games.
but he didn't start for the he came up he came in after two players had to get hurt for him to come in. He only started like
And
4 or 5 games.
Jules, I believe he was started right away.
Yeah, but he missed like 10 games last season. He only played like 7 games. I'm
Jeffrey
trying to
Jules, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Either way, I'm just trying to make like, an overall point. But say it's Roseboom, like who had the most tackles in the league last year, and we had new guys on the outside. Then you have J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, who both played well last year, and they got a new safety, and then likely we're signing a new safety. So the whole defense, in theory, is going to change. And not only are they going to change, there's depth everywhere. There's depth because then if those are the three guys, then you add LeBron Ray, Ashawn Robinson, Deshaun Williams, LeBron Ray, Shy Tuttle, all on the front three. Then you have Scorton, Princely, DJ Johnson actually came on okay lately. That's your third string guys. Barno, those are your third string guys. And then at corner, you give guaranteed money to two corners. Theoretically, we're going to sign another one. Shastus Wade barely played, so it's the injuries killed this year. And the thing is, it was so crazy is that we apologized for it all year. But the offseason, we just ignore what we apologize for and create the new narrative that we're just that bad. Yeah, we were probably that bad. Even if we were fully healthy, we're probably 20th best at most. But look at all the guys we added. We added so many guys that are elite. Like we have an elite safety, an elite corner, two uh, two first round graded in my head at the end. Wanham, who has had success in the league, and then an elite defensive tackle. And then you spent so much money on the defensive side as far as defensive front seven to make the depth on that team. So theoretically, they won't get hurt because they won't play as many snaps because you're constantly rotating people in, which is what the Eagles do, and they saw it and they copied it. And I think this defense is going to be way better than people think they're going to be.
Right. I hope you're correct. My concern in general, I'm not a big fan of 3-4, and I feel like the 3-4 actually, in a way, make our defense weaker because before, basically, Derek Brown was a defensive tackle,
Well, that's the
and
problem is that we
Asian.
didn't have a big guy. We got now we signed Bobby Brown, and we brought in Cam Jackson theoretically to play that role because Shy Tuttle was just awful in that spot. Sorry, I didn't mean to
So
interrupt
the
you.
question, yeah, no, it's okay. So the question is, if we brought them over, why all of a suddenly we still stick with the 3-4? I mean, we can put 4-3 Derek Brown next to Bobby Brown, and it's basically and put Ashawn Robinson off the bench, and it's when healthy, you cannot run over them
No.
or through.
Yeah. Well, so the problem is that we didn't have the personnel to go between 3-4 and 4-3. Now we kind of do. The Eagles just won the Super Bowl running a 3-4. Like it works. It works if you have the personnel, but we had our entire roster go down. I mean, like really think about like how many people could not play. You have versatile guys like guys like Shaq Thompson who who is theoretically could play outside linebacker if we needed to. He's gone. We lost Luvu. We lost Brian Burns. We didn't have Waddle for half the year. We lost Derek Brown. Uh, uh, Davion Clowney missed games. Josie Jewell missed a lot of games. Trevor Wallace missed like our whole front seven. Just you're kind of like integrating all these guys like over and over. We're the 30th most we're the 30th healthiest roster last year, and we think of it as status quo because we were unlucky the year before, and we had the 31st most injured roster. So say we, and then you look at guys like the teams like the Falcons. Falcons had the fourth healthiest roster last year. Like the Bucks had the 17th healthiest roster last year. We're going against those kind of teams, and if it just flips, because we beat the Falcons, had the fourth healthiest roster, barely signed anybody. We had the 30th, beat them, and spent the fifth most amount of money in free agency this year, and had an elite draft. So just think about like how much better we could be versus a team that we beat at the end of the year last year without with Chuba Hubbard on IR, with Horn didn't play, like with practice squad guys, and we still beat them because they played everybody because they were going for
Yeah.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we were on par with that team with nobodies, and look at everything we added. That's why I think that we need to start thinking about how good this team actually can be if that's status quo.
Right. I mean, the final point about the 3-4-3, my concern is basically when you play the 3-4, you play more players in essence. When you play the 4-3, you play less players if it makes sense. So you have more players, more starters for the 4-3 coming off the bench, like Ashawn Robinson. Like, for example, Stoughton and Walton can play edge, like pass rusher. So it, it allow, in my opinion, more. And then you have Jules and Wallace as two linebackers, and Walton as the third linebacker, or you can put him as the edge rusher. So it's basically like,
And Mower can come in the box too. Like it's going to look a lot more like 3-5. I don't remember who's. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but it's going to look more like I think Mike K said it was more like a 3-5-3 kind of set as far as like a single high and two corners and then five guys in the box or in the with three guys down. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
sure, it's okay. Because I mean, when you play 4-3 without depth, you have more chance to rotate. Can you just imagine for a second Ashawn Robinson and Cam Jackson, who I believe is a very, very big player. So can you imagine just for a second your backup, Ashawn Robinson and Cam Jackson? So and then the fourth in replacing Jules and Wallace, you have backup. So
Mm.
little the 4-3, you have more the ability to rotate. When you use the 3-4, you don't have as much ability to rotate. So
Yeah.
that is something which I believe the only reason they're running the 3-4 is because of Favera. That is the only
Oh,
reason.
sure. Yeah.
But the
But
question,
yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah. No.
no, go ahead,
So
please.
yeah. So you're correct as far as rotation, but I think what they're more excited about is disguise. Like they want to disguise things. And so when you're looking at a line of scrimmage, you're a quarterback, right? And you see the down lineman, you can get protections and all of that. If you're upright, right? So if I'm the outside linebacker and I'm like you can, if I'm upright, it's a lot easier for me to shift. It's a lot easier for me to rotate, and that makes the quarterback have to think. That's when they start making mistakes, and that's what we want because we don't get turnovers. If we want to be like the Patriots were, and we trust our offense so much that we're bend don't break, then you're absolutely right. Like we play like 4-3, we try to hold field goals, and we want touchdowns. I think that they understand that their offense is not all the way there yet, they don't have Tom Brady yet. Like they don't, it's not a bend don't break. It's a we can't let you score because we're not super confident that we're going to be able to shoot out every single time. They need turnovers. This team needs turnovers. They need uh, guys to make plays. As far as they need guys like Moerig to be able to guys to come in on safety blitzes, corner blitzes, all this kind of stuff. Um, and I think they finally have the personnel where they kind of can do it. But even though they play 3-4, we still play 4-3 sets like 40% of the time. We're just a mostly 3-4 team.
So basically, the the 3-4, it's more for the sky, and the 4-3 set the way it is, and so on.
Yeah, it's 4-3. It's like you try to move the ball. We're so good. I think that the Ravens have been playing 4-3 forever, but the Ravens have consistently had, you know, Ray Davis. Think about when the Panthers had a 4-3, right? Like
Yeah.
we had elite linebackers, we had elite defensive tackles, we had guys in the corners that could make plays because, and we just basically said, try to beat us. You're gonna have a second and a half every single time you snap the ball because you're gonna have K1 short from the middle in the backfield. Like those sort of like ideas, I guess. And then Luke is the smartest, but we don't have that anymore. So you think about now, we have to have multiple people on the second level because we don't have the Luke Kuechly there that can say, I know what the play's going to be before the play's going to be there. And I can make up for, you know, an extra guy on the back end and we can do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you think of the elite defense and that's why Ravens have Roquan Williams. That's why the Seahawks, when they were playing a 4-3, they had, the,
Cam
uh,
Chandler,
well, yeah, he plays
Bobby,
safety. Oh God, what's the linebacker's name?
not
K-
Wagner.
Not KJ. Yeah, Bobby Wagner. Yeah, exactly. Bobby Wagner. Patrick Willis. Like those teams, they're like, I have a guy in the middle that can. You can't beat us, and I'm gonna trust this guy to affect the whole defense and call audibles and stuff like that because he's elite. And then I'm gonna have four guys down there because I trust on the back end that there's gonna be an extra, basically a coach from the field to call coverages and call the plays ahead of time. Basically, we don't have that yet because we don't have a linebacker. We don't have a middle linebacker that can do that. Hopefully, Wallace can turn into that, but he ain't there yet. We got to run more 3-4 because we have to confuse the quarterback based on the defensive calls versus the defensive sets. If that makes sense.
And I'm presuming generally it's not coaches, it's not like Madden, of course. And Madden, you can switch 4-3, 3-4, etc. Coaches, they typically don't run two set of defense. Like typically, if you run the 4-3, you will run the 4-3, 4-4, 4-4-6, and so on. And if you run the 3-4, you will run the 3-4 and the 3-5-3. But typically, you won't see coach run the 4-3 and also run the 3-4 together.
Mm.
Or so that is something. Uh, so you mentioned the defense. The things that honestly, what if afraid me of jumping on the bandwagon on the defense is I know it's not the defense, but 2 years ago. We didn't have a show 2 years ago, but 2 years ago, everyone crowned this team. Everyone crowned this team when Frank Reich and company were hired. Basically, everyone said,
Oh, that
"Yeah."
was weird.
There,
Yeah.
there is a guy in Charlotte on WFNZ called his name is Will Pelagic, Willie P. He's a great
Mm.
guy. And he predicted the Panthers will win 12 games that season.
And they probably
And
could have.
we
I mean,
won two.
honestly, but I'm saying they probably could. The difference was the depth. We didn't have to think about how deep our offensive line is now versus how it was then. We had like first two games, I think, Brady Christensen and Corbett went down. The year before, we had a top 10 offensive line with those same guys. We just never got depth around them, and those guys went out early. And then Bryce was getting hit every freaking play, so you can't move the ball. You have new guy in DJ Chark, who I think missed the first or second game of the season. Miles Sanders
Yeah.
started the year injured. You had uh, Thielen, who was great for 7 games. In the last 10, he just disappeared. Your tight end room was whatever. Your offense was just way too untalented because you drafted Mingo, who ended up being your third best receiver. And then, like, can you remember? Can you remember another receiver on that team other than GJ Shark, Thielen, and Mingo?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how bad those weapons were. But you see, they were dealing with injuries. Hayden Hurst had a concussion that we never thought that he would come back from football again.
Yeah.
Like we were that hurt on the offensive side of the ball, and then on the defensive ball, we just weren't deep enough to deal with having 40 minutes a game, like losing that time of possession. So if we would have stayed healthy, 12 wins is on the table. Because you remember
Eh,
those games? You remember how close those games were?
no,
Like, you
I
remember
know,
like
but
remember us having the lead in a lot of those games, like the Vikings game we had the lead, the Miami Dolphins game we had the lead, the Dallas game I think we even had the lead. We had the lead in a lot of these games, and we just ran out of gas. We just ran out of guys. We didn't have the horses, and now we
right.
do,
We,
and
I
more
mean,
talent.
we right. I mean, the roster was basically similar to the year when Steve Wilkes coached. I think the reason why that team struggled is because of the coach personality, which coaches we all learn the right way, the hard way, make a massive difference. Because
We talk about the
what?
year before with Rule versus Wilkes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he just leaned.
basically,
He leaned into our other. He leaned. Sorry to cut you off. Wilkes isn't. He went on a genius. He leaned into the strength of the offense, and that it ain't crazy. And then when Rule just wanted to turn it into some kind of college style like spread offense, when we had a great offensive line, big backs, and a decent defense that could stop people. Sorry, you can go ahead about Wilkes.
no, but I was saying about Frank Reich. He also, in a way, ran a similar college style offense, which is why we struggle so much. Because what I mean, Frank Reich, I'm sure he's a good person off the field, a great guy, but in essence, for coaching wise, energy, he was too old of a coach.
Yeah, you're right.
Energy wise,
You're right. Yep.
it didn't seem like he had the energy to coach. I don't know
Mm.
him personally, but it just seemed like didn't have the energy to coach. And what I like about Canales, and I said it prior show and social media and Twitter, is that Canales is very motivated. He's very upbeat and energized. And you have a young roster, you have a young coach, so it's going to tend to mash together. Now, if Canales, let's say hypothetically, instead of Canales, the team would have hired Bill Belichick. Forget about Jordan Hudson and all of that. Just Bill Belichick. Just Bill Belichick. Even though he's a Hall of Famer and Super Bowl personality wise, he's a coach. So he wouldn't have fit with our younger roster. But because Canales by himself is young, is energized, is motivated, is optimistic, is upbeat. So in essence, even though he's a coach, I'm sure the players see him similar to how they see themselves. And Rule, the problem with Rule, he basically came from college. Sure, he was, I believe he was assistant with the Giant, if I remember correctly, but still, he came from college and he basically tried to motivate and basically to teach NFL players as if they were college players. And so he didn't get the respect in the locker room.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you said a lot of points there. One, let's look at the coaches because I mean we love Rivera. We do like we love Rivera. Rivera ain't
Yeah,
coaching anywhere right now. Like he had a good run with the Panthers, and a good run means He went to the playoffs 3 times in 8 years, I think. I
Yeah,
mean, he got great players, and he went to the playoffs 3 times in 8 years. And then, so he wasn't an excellent coach. And then we got Rule. Rule went 5 and 12, 5 and 12, like win five, whatever. And now he's at Nebraska. I think he's still there. He couldn't get another job. He just wasn't good. And then Steve Wilkes came in, and we crowned Steve Wilkes. But instead, like what we really got to think about is Steve Wilkes went 5-5. It's not like he was elite. And then Steve Wilkes didn't have a job. He still hasn't had a NFL head coaching job, and he's gotten fired from defensive coordinating jobs. And then we got Reich, who slowly got. You said energy. He slowly just lost it in Indy, and since he ain't got another job. And now Canales, nobody else interviewed Canales. We're the only team to interview Canales. So I'm hopeful for Canales, but our expectation of what these coaches are, we never really had elite coaches. The only one I don't even want to go into that because I'm gonna get killed for it. But we got to think objectively about this team. But what you did say that's correct is I think that the way that I can sum it up is that there is a overall understanding between the owner, the general manager, and the coach of the type of player, the type of organization, um, uh, the type of character that they want with these guys, and they're building a team around that vision, and you can see it, and it's so much different than when you got Reich in. You said, "Hey, we're gonna get Reich in. You run a very like this kind of offense, but we're also going to bring Thomas Brown because he runs a very different offense, but like you can learn from each other. And then we're going to bring in this guy, a quarterback coach with the quarterback from the Jets. I can't remember his name. Josh McCown. Josh McCown. Bring him in, and then we're going to bring in Evero from the as defensive coordinator from Denver, and then we're going to bring in like yada 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 yada. And there was no like vision. It was just talent everywhere. Same thing with the players. Like you're bringing in, sure, okay, you bring in Bryce, you bring in Hurst, you bring in, I can go over all the players, whatever. But you're bringing in guys that really don't complement each other, and they're kind of over overpaid for who they are, and you got a sitting dunk at GM. So it was just a mess of just like not grossness. What I can say about this team is one, analytically, they're great. Their depth's great. There's vision between the coach and the front office. They're working together, and maybe this team doesn't work out, but at least they seem competent moving forward. And I that's what we need. And honestly, as Panther fans, we got to take that very first win and say, guys, no dead cap, a young team, competence between the front office and the coaches and the players, uh, high character players that you're bringing in, momentum. Like also like you understand your weaknesses. Is like you're hurt 2 years in a row. You fire your whole strength and conditioning staff, and you bring in a whole new one in because you understand that was the thing that was setting you back. Like the them knowing themselves and them creating a specific goal is wonderful, and we need to applaud that before we applaud anything else.
yeah, I agree. I mean, you made plenty of excellent points, and I mean, we mentioned in a way. I mean, we remember how not Canales, Rules mentioned 7 years rebuild, and
Yeah,
Tep,
that's stupid.
yeah, exactly, and Tepper mentions that. The question is, I mean, I know fans, we expect this team to make the playoffs. Wild card, or more than likely to win the NFC South. We both we both had this team basically in the playoff. I had them 10 wins. I believe you had them 9 wins. So basically, we both have the team, the Panthers, making the playoff. The question is, I know what we expect. I'm curious what is Stepper expecting because let's say they on like I heard on the radio like a week ago they mentioned like if this team wins 7 games, that will consider success.
That's recency bias. You're thinking about old Panthers. In general, I'm just saying this in general as a fact, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but this team, have we ever seen a team transform like this team did this past year? Like, it is insane how much we upgraded every single position except for O line, which we're bringing back basically the same line, but that we created depth behind the O line. But we're in a place now where we're looking at the wide receiver room and we're like, man, I don't know who we cut. We have too many good wide receivers. When have we ever said that in the history of Pantherdom? Like, we have too many good wide receivers. We're saying things like, whoa, when Jonathan Brooks comes back, what are we going to do? Because we have too many good running backs. What? We have too many defensive linemen. We're saying these things now. It's unbelievable that we're even doing this, and we're saying 7 wins because we're intellectually saying, well, 5 wins. I most we can hope for this year is like just a baby step to 7 wins. Well, you know what? The 49ers went from 4-12 to 13-3 and went to the Super Bowl. Like it you can't if you upgrade your roster and you stay healthy and your coaching staff stays consistent, and we have the fourth through seventh easiest schedule. Like at what point are we saying if we're saying that 7 wins maybe? Let's just say that we are saying that. How do you upgrade the roster? Like, what else do you want them to do? I don't
Exactly.
understand what do you like. We have good running backs, good quarterback, good wide receivers, good offensive line, good defensive line. Uh, we're gonna add to the safety room. Like, I just don't understand what else you want them to do.
The only concern, I mean,
I
just,
agree, but I think we're gonna add to the room.
so I think we realistically can't wait 2 more. Safety, we need a couple of more in. Sorry to interrupt. We had a question. It's a good question, actually. Very good question. Alex Alberto asking who will own the Colts now because I don't
Doesn't
believe I could be.
he has a son though? I think, right? He's the
I'm
only
not
son.
sure.
I don't know. It'll probably
I
go
think
to these guys have a board. They have a hierarchy. Like, I think he has a son. I think he does. But if he doesn't, it'll go to a board, and the board already has that in place.
right because at 65, I doubt that he had a contingency plan. I mean, hopefully he did because if not, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like other.
these
Yeah,
guys are these guys have boards like that, like a board of trustees, like they like a that they meet and they have like all these they have like a team of lawyers that have all this stuff already planned out. We're talking about billion-dollar businesses. Yeah, they already have it figured out.
right. But the thing is, I could be mistaken. I mean, let's say hypothetically they get an owner who is not very rich, not very rich for NFL standard, not in life. I'm presuming since there is the set salary cap and all of that, it's not going to impact the team per se, players, coaches. It's not like in baseball. If this would have happened in baseball, yeah, it could impact dramatically, like how much you cut at party, how much you sign, who you sign, whether
Yeah.
you can afford. Football, NFL with the set salary cap, I could be mistaken, but I don't think it will impact them so much off the field. But I don't know. I mean, it seemed like he was a hands-on type of the owner. That
Oh,
that's
which
what
is
it
the
seemed
worst
like.
part about it. Yeah, it's the worst part about what they did. It's too hands on.
Which
I'll say this.
you
I'll say this about this. I don't know anything, but what I will say, if there isn't one owner, like a single billionaire owner that owns this team, I don't see them staying in Indy. There ain't no reason to stay in Indy. Honestly, like they can go to say San Diego. Like say like there's a whole bunch of different reasons to move that franchise, and you ain't gonna find many billionaires in Indianapolis, especially when you're going against Cincinnati, which is like across the river. I could see them moving if it goes to a team like say they're selling it, they're selling the franchise. I could see it moving.
But the question is, the combine is in Indianapolis. I know it's not as
Oh,
big
really?
of a,
Um,
but will they dare potentially move it since they have the combine in Indianapolis?
oh, it
And I
wouldn't happen
mean, if
overnight. It wouldn't happen tomorrow. It would. I mean, this would be like 3, 4, 5 years away. Um,
right,
Somebody's got to come in and make a deal. Like, I'm sure this is going to go to a board of trustees that's going to have a sale of the franchise if it isn't left to one person, and then that sale will last at least a year, and then the actual acquisition would take 2 years, and then maybe they have negotiations with other cities about moving the franchise. It'd probably be a 5 year deal if they ended up moving, but
right.
if it goes to a
And I mean,
different person, I think that they could move the franchise.
and I could be mistaken, but I don't believe their stadium is very new per se. I believe
Uh,
it's relatively older stadium.
yep.
The Alpha Dome, I think, is like 20, at least 20 years old, closer to Bank of America Stadium age, but because it's the indoor, so they don't talk about it much. Plus, Indianapolis, I'm sure it's a great city. I never been to. I'm sure it's a great city, but the NFL market it's not a big time market.
It doesn't
Think,
invite. It doesn't invite tourists. It's. I mean, it's literally top five every single year in most dangerous cities in America. Um,
hmm,
I would just have to assume that they would move it if it goes to anybody except uh, a son or daughter. I don't see why anybody would keep a business there. The Pacers, I understand because one, it takes less to sell out stadiums. Two, it's a that's basically where basketball was invented was in Indiana. They love basketball a lot more, but for football, I don't know.
right, and I mean even his son. I mean, let's say he has a son. I don't know. I haven't searched his wiki page. I mean, that's hypothetically. Let's say Jim Olsey, rest in peace. He has a son. Then even his son, I'm not sure he would necessarily want to own the team because yeah, I mean you make a lot of money, but it's a big time investment. It's a big time investment uh, that especially if you are the sole owner, it it's beneficiary as far as making so much money that you cannot think of, but it's not an easy job. I mean, realistically, it's not an easy job to be NFL owner because you basically have to manage so many people have it, while other people might not have it as far as personality wise. I'm not sure if he interested in owning the
Yeah, who
team.
knows?
In
Yeah, we don't have enough data. I don't. I'm blind on this. I'm just saying that that would be a son would be or daughter would be the only reason I could see anybody wanting to keep that franchise in Indy, especially with the demand for others. Like Portland wants a team, London wants a team. Like San Diego wants a team back. Like so many different areas want a team. I don't see how uh, anyone that doesn't have connections to the Colts buying that franchise would ever keep a team in Indianapolis.
right, and I mean, you mentioned San Diego one. I think with LA only being like 3 hours away, that could be a problem for them. Plus, where they're going to put the stadium. I mean, they
They
already
have
have
a
the
stadium,
soccer.
San Diego. Because the
Now,
Chargers old stadium. Oh, go ahead. So, what do you say?
right, but the reason why they didn't stay is because of the stadium was so old. I mean, the stadium
Yeah,
was
but
in
they'll
terrible.
build another stadium. Like, the demand for it in San Diego is everybody's talking. I mean, also San. I mean, people like players are going to want to play in San Diego. I'm not saying it's going to be San Diego, but like
Right.
all these areas that lose franchises. Like think about the Hornets that left Charlotte. We didn't know how
Yeah.
much we wanted the Hornets until they left, and we're like, "Yo, we didn't. The Cleveland didn't know how much they wanted the Browns until the Browns went to Baltimore, and then like they were like, "Yo, yeah, we want this team back." Same thing is going to happen. Same thing happened to St. Louis with the St. Louis Rams when they moved. San Diego. When these teams move, there's a void in the city, and they're like, "I need there to be a team here," and there's no team. So I it could be any. I think that the NFL wants a European team. I think that you can see London having a team, or like Mexico City, or Vancouver, or like anything like that. I just don't. I think there's just so much more money to be made in another market that ain't indie because they're not getting any sort of. I've been to Indy many times. Uh, there ain't any sort of draw there and it's top five most dangerous city in the country.
Right. You mentioned London want a team. I think the NFL should, instead of taking a team from the state, they should just put expansion. Just put
Oh
expansion. Put
yeah,
in.
I think they'll go to Canada before they go to London. I think they'll do Toronto or London before they Toronto or Vancouver. Sorry, before that.
But the problem with Canada, well, not a problem, but I mean, they have the CFL, which is very popular over there.
So
So
there's
I'm not
Canadian
sure.
basketball before Toronto had a team too. Like
Huh.
it's the NFL. The NFL's king. They can do whatever they want. Like they can do whatever they want. Uh,
Right. So I think, in general, the NFL should put an expansion team in Europe. I don't think it would be
oh,
fair.
it's gonna happen eventually. I just don't know how soon it's gonna happen.
Right. I think they should put a team like in London,
Yeah.
Germany. I mean, the interesting thing about the NFL years ago, I don't know if you remember, there used to be the NFL Europe. The NFL Europe, and but it wasn't very popular back then. So 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 it's definitely an interesting issue to keep an eye on. Which no, we will keep an eye on the show. What will the Colts do? Because this could. I mean, even his son. There is no guarantee that his family members will want to keep the team in Indianapolis. There's no such guarantee of that.
Yeah. I don't know why
So
anybody
that
would keep it there. I don't know. I mean, they kind of have tradition now with Peyton Manning, but outside of that, I mean, there's no draw. Like, at least like the Panthers, there's no draw for the Panthers right now, but at least they have a decent decent pool as far as uh tourists tourist draw, and it's in the middle of the downtown or uptown Charlotte. So I just don't see why anybody when there's so many other areas of revenue when you can go to cities that have money. Like even going like go to Birmingham, like people would love that in Birmingham. I don't know.
right,
Have a
which
second Chicago team.
no, it's too much. Chicago is too crowded. I don't think they will. They will take.
There's
I
9 million
mean,
people in New York. We have two teams.
I know. I mean, you have two teams from the NBA, two teams from baseball, three teams from hockey. So, so you're right. But I think if for whatever reason, hypothetically, the Colts move, I think St. Louis and also San Antonio. Because I remember back
San Antonio would be cool. Yeah, San Antonio would be great, and they
when
got
Katrina,
space.
yeah, when Katrina devastated New Orleans, the Saints moved to San Antonio, which, if I'm not mistaken, San Antonio is the sixth largest city in America. I'm
I
pretty
don't know,
sure.
but
So,
Austin's right there too, so you can get all the Austin people too as well. And Austin's
right,
humongous. Yeah, San Antonio is brilliant. I mean, there's so many. Like Portland doesn't have a team. San Antonio doesn't have a team. St. Louis, San Diego. Go back to Oakland. Oakland doesn't have a team. There's so many cities that could make more revenue than Indianapolis for
I
sure.
don't think I don't think Auckland can afford it. I mean, Auckland realistically has so much crime.
Oakland has no. Indy has so much crime. Oakland's cleaning up. Oakland's like the Bronx of New York, where it used to have crime, but now the Bronx people are living there, and as far
Hmm.
as wealthy people, because it's basically on the water and like a nice little area outside of Manhattan. Everything's different than it used to be, except for Indianapolis, which is still a very rich in crime city. But so is Baltimore. They got a team, so I don't know.
Right. So basically, St. Louis, I St.
I think you're
Louis
right. St. Louis and
maybe.
San Diego are the two most, and maybe Portland. Those are the
Right.
most likely.
And San Antonio, definitely, I think. And what about Memphis? I know you have Nashville.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So
Bible Belt area is just too collegey. Like it's too college football. You got to go to like bigger states, more metropolitan areas.
yeah. So anyway, I think we wrapped it for tonight. There's nothing more to talk. Oh, the tush push. Forgot. As what is your opinion on it? Are you a personally? I don't like.
My overall I here's what the NFL wants to do. They want to cause as much drama in the game as possible, and they want to as much scoring as possible. If I'm looking at fairness as far as how fair the tush push is, it's wildly unfair because you have basically a center and guard double teaming whoever's there. You have the quarterback, and then you have whoever's behind the quarterback pushing them. On the defensive side of the football, it is illegal to push a defensive player, to lift a defensive player, to assist a defensive player at any cost. So, in theory, you have one defensive player that's coming after. That person is being double teamed by a guard center, is being leveraged by the quarterback, and also being pushed by the running back or whoever's behind them. So that's 4 points of leverage onto one person, and the defense can't fight back because they can't push their own guy. If you said we can push on offense and on defense, I'd say who cares? It's fair both ways. But they don't say that. The same thing with the kickoff rules. You can only do an onside kick if you're trailing. So you're basically saying, I'm going to give an advantage to a team just because they're losing, which is obviously unfair. I'm not saying that like it does the of course the team that's winning probably won't do an onside kick, but it's unfair because in theory both teams should be able to have the exact same amount of rules geared towards them as possible, no matter who's winning or losing. That's like saying that if you're winning, you can only get 3 downs, where the losing team only gets 4 downs. It's just ridiculous, but they know the masses don't care because they're looking for the same sort of instant gratification that we are. Tush push gets more points on the board, and we know that the team that gets the ball after the tush push is going to have to throw, throw, throw. We like to see throws, we like to see catches, we like to see excitement, we like to see scoring. So NFL knows that, and the consumer doesn't care. So at the end of the day, multiple rules in the NFL are not fair, but it makes them money, so I get it. And as far as the actual play itself, I don't care. I don't care if it's. I don't care either way.
Right. I don't like it because basically, if you're the defense, you cannot. There's no way you can stop it because, as
Yeah.
you rightly mentioned, the defense cannot push the offense forward. So they should, and I'm surprised they didn't vote on it. You don't ban the tush push, but allow the defense to push forward also. And that way, it's a fair, it's a fair play for both teams. So
And
that is
As an
Yeah.
example of the billionaires do not care about fair play. They don't care about anything like that. They care about the bottom line and they understand more scoring is more people watching television, is more people that can get clicks on Twitter, on Facebook, more things that can be talked about on ESPN, and all of that's good for the brand. They only care about making money. They don't care about fairness. So we shouldn't be surprised.
So why the wrapping point? Why do you think we're saying billionaire? Why you say billionaires don't care? Why did the Panthers vote against it?
Because we have a 5'9" quarterback. We have no advantage there. We can't take advantage of that. Like if we had Cam Newton, I guarantee you we'd be voting for it. Like obviously we're not going to be voting for the tush push because we can't take advantage of it. There's like Bryce is.
It's more for
If we had
quality.
Cam, we 1000% would be voting for it.
So it's all. But Jalen Oates, I could be mistaken, but he's also not very tall. I mean, he's tall,
But I'm
but
not talking about tall. I'm talking about like he's like 225. Bryce is like 190. It's a big difference as far as leverage.
right.
Also injuries. Like look at Jalen Hurts' thighs versus Bryce Young's thighs. You tell me like who can have an advantage?
Yeah, you make a good point. Like I said, I wish that they would have allowed the defense to push forward, but it's basically, unfortunately, this year we play against the Bills. So the advice to Avera, to the defense, stay out of short situation. Third and
Yeah,
short, fourth and short, even second and short. Stay out of short. Anything second and three, third and three, fourth and three, you're basically not going to stop them. Even though we have Derrick Brown, who is a big guy.
yeah. At the end of the day, man, it gives them. I think it's given them like a touchdown, an extra touchdown every other game. So you're talking about an extra 4 points every other game, which is an extra 2 points a game. It really ain't gonna make that big of a difference in general because it's say that every time they didn't do the tush push, they kicked a field goal, then it's only an extra 4 points because it's once every other game. But they have Saquon Barkley too. They're probably gonna get a touchdown either way. Like it really ain't overall, and I think that's what the owners are saying is like overall situationally maybe, which only comes into effect during the Super Bowl. But they make so much more money on more points being scored for the rest of the year that they'll take the risk on the Super Bowl. Because the
Yeah,
Eagles have been doing it for what 4 or 5 years now, and they've won one Super Bowl. So until they start winning Super Bowl every year, they won't start making rules against it.
right. I think it definitely helped them against the Packers, which is why the Packers voted against it.
It helped them against the Rams for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So anyway, I'm hearing firefighters in the back, so they probably
Yeah,
want
you
us.
heard it. Okay, okay. All right. That's the for you.
We had an earthquake in you. We had an earthquake in
I heard.
you.
I heard. I heard.
4.1 in Tennessee, which we felt it in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great show as always. Thank
Yeah,
you for
man.
coming.
I'm gonna
We
go
will
watch the
do,
Knicks now.
yeah, which they're up by 7 with
Yeah.
10:50.
Let's go.
10, yeah,
And then what? In the third or fourth or second?
yeah. Let me see if I can show you real quick.
They're in the. Oh, they're in the third. I gotta go. I gotta watch this game.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So
Appreciate it.
thank you, man. See you next
See you
week.
next time. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.